Okay. In this crazy seller's market, how are you supposed to get an offer accepted?
That's what we're talking about today. So, all right,
Tourette's.
Okay, so today we're talking about how you get your offer accepted. All you buyers out there that are wondering how to get your offer accepted.
All you agents that are wondering how to get your offer accepted.
Yeah, exactly. How does it work? Well, we've got a bunch of tips for you, okay? And we're going to go through them one by one. So the first one, you guys have all heard it, offering up over ask price.
What? Offer over ask price. Do it.
Okay, so we've got a $400,000 house, and it's listed at $400,000. How much should I be offering so that my offer is accepted?
You're offering, if you want to have your offer considered, you're 5 to 10% over.
At least.
Yeah.
And in the really hot market, yeah.
Yeah. And even though, so a lot of people will automatically say, well, why would I offer over that and be upside down in the house right away?
Let me tell you why. I've got borrowers that were looking for a house 4 months ago. They're in the $350,000 range.
Okay.
In 4 months, the houses in that range, in the area they're looking, have increased $50,000. That's the kind of appreciation they're looking at. So you're like, man, I don't want to offer $35,000 more on a $350,000 home.
Yeah.
If they would have done that 4 months ago, they would have saved $15,000. $15,000.
Yeah, because the house already raised up in value. So now that same home that was 5 months ago, that was $350,000, is now $400,000. And did the buyer make an extra $50,000 in the last 4 months?
Yeah, were they able to save more money?
Not.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
No. So make your offer attractive right off the get-go.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that right there is not highest and best, attractive and strong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about more ways.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually that we want to talk about that a little bit more though, because if you're qualified up to $400,000, how much house should you be looking for? If you know you need to offer over ask price, how much should they be looking at as their ceiling?
Well, this comes back to the lender because the lender needs to pre-approve them. So at $400,000, you're not going to look for houses at $400,000. You're going to be looking at $350,000.
Look a little lower so that you can add some top space.
Exactly. So you've got the room there.
Yeah. That's what a good lender should say.
Right. And also pad the interest rate a little bit on the pre-approval. Because we've seen interest rates increase like crazy, and we could talk about why in another video, but they're increasing. So if you get pre-approved right here, and you're looking at homes right there, and for the wild chance you get it, and interest rates go up an eighth, you just lost it.
Well, and the other big one that I want to make sure we bring up is remember an HOA. A lot of homes nowadays, especially new construction, most of them are in HOA communities. That affects your loan big time, and a lot of lenders or discount lenders, they don't tell you that if you're approved for $400,000 and you go pick up a house that has 150 HOA, which is pretty common, that limits your borrowing power by about $30,000. So now that's $30,000. Plus, you still need to think about over asking price.
Yeah.
So now in the 350 to 360 range, you may need to even drop it down a little bit lower to secure that home.
Yeah. To make sure that you can perform.
Yes.
And get through there. Yeah. Very good points.
Yeah.
So actually, I want to talk a little bit more about that pre-approval. You mentioned the pre-approval. I'm pre-approved at this level and pre-approved at this. One of the things that we are doing when we're representing sellers, we pick up the phone and we make a phone call.
You know what? If you have a good lender, they should call the listing agent when you present the offer.
Why would that make such a difference?
You send it over. Sometimes we work together. I call up the agent and said, hey, you just got an offer from Tyler. Open your inbox. Okay, this is the Jones family.
Right.
Let me tell you, and I've talked to the Jones. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to help you get your offer accepted. And I say, they've got this much in the bank.
Right.
Because I can lend off the lower of the purchase price or the appraised value. If you're offering more than asking price, there's a good chance there's going to be a gap. So I need to make sure they can cover that difference and still put minimum down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that, you just got them stuck.
Well, and what I want to clarify too is not only is that good information, but as a seller, if you're sitting there and you just got 20 offers that got submitted to you, and part of the offer is not just the buyers performing. I mean, they have to perform, but the lender is the one who has to make sure that that loan actually follows through to the end, that they have all the correct paperwork, they have all that stuff. What does that speak to that contract or that offer that got submitted when the actual lender calls and says, hey, here's the offer, you guys, the agent's already sent it over to you, I'm just letting you know that I back all this, let's talk about this, let me tell you why these guys are awesome. You hang up the phone, that seller goes, I feel a lot more confident knowing that the lender's behind this transaction as well.
Yeah.
So that comes back to that attractiveness of that offer.
Yeah, the strength of that offer. Can this buyer actually make it through the process of
because
buying
you look at a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of good agents out there, and they're going to do the math, and they're going to go, okay, here's what you should offer. You got to look at this as tiebreakers too. You could be tied with 3 other deals. The odds of every lender, now, I mean, after this video, they're all going to do it. But a good lender is going to call, that's your tiebreaker. Because they're that agent is going to talk to those sellers and go, look, these are great offers. This guy, the lender actually called and spoke to us. He called. I didn't even call him. And they're like, which one do you think is going to get a little bit more weight on it?
Yeah. And then to say they've got the money in. The appraisal can come in this much low and we're fine. Like, they've been at their job. I have automated underwriting. I've done a complete pre-approval. Like, so I can close this quicker. Like, I have all the stuff I need. I know what I'm talking about. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. So I actually want to talk about some of those contingencies that we hear out there. A lot of times we hear people waiving the due diligence contingency, waiving the appraisal contingency, making their earnest money non-refundable, or you might hear earnest money going hard. Like, what are these things? Let's talk about each one of them and why they make an offer more attractive than something else.
Well, to go back even a little bit further, one of the ones is also, is this contract contingent upon you selling another piece of property?
Oh boy.
To pay for it.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because right now, that means that's one more domino that has to line up just to purchase it. You'll have the money and you'll know it'll sell. Especially in today's, we're not worried about that, but who knows how long it could take, how many other potential issues that could happen.
It's another layer of risk. I've seen a few offers get accepted that are contingent upon sale, so it won't kill your deal for sure. Just know that's another layer of risk.
Yes. Okay, and what happens when you remove a contingency? What does that really mean? What are you actually risking when you remove a contingency?
So the first deadline, due diligence, right? So this is where you're like, in traditional contract and commercial, like, contracts are long, and like, so you make an offer without even really knowing much, and then the lawyers look at the legal stuff, and then they review all this. Due diligence is the same. So make an offer on a house, and then we're going to see if we like your neighbors, and like where the church is, and stuff like that.
The front door is, and how the sun hits it.
Right, and we'll have a home inspection. We'll do our due diligence on the house, right?
Great.
Right now, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, what happens if so? When somebody says we're getting rid of the due diligence contingency, what does that actually mean? Does that mean you can't do your due diligence?
You can still do diligence,
okay,
but you won't get your earnest money back if you decide to cancel the contract,
right?
Because your home inspection comes back and the sink leaks, or you find out that the neighbors suck. It's ta-da! It's your house, or you lose your earnest money,
right?
Which a good reference was 1% of the purchase price. Kind of recommend going 2 right now.
Yeah,
2%
right now. 2%, and so that means if you've got a $400,000 house, how much earnest money we're looking at?
$8,000.
$8,000, not a small amount of money. Now that money goes toward your purchase.
Yeah,
but it's basically there to say to the seller, I'm serious about going forward on this.
Right.
Now let's talk about earnest money non-refundable at different points along the way. I saw a contract just recently that said this earnest money will be non-refundable, or a portion of it will be non-refundable at acceptance.
So
as soon as the seller accepts the offer, they have some $1,000. Like sometimes like the full earnest money amount, but often it's a portion. Like $5,000 of my $8,000 is now non-refundable. That means if you back out for any reason, you're leaving that on the table.
Yeah, that stays. That's in earnest. We've written this intent to purchase this property. Here's the earnest money.
Right. Exactly.
The importance of being earnest.
So we look at, so you have your contingency on, do I have another property to sell? There's a financing one. Do I have to have financing?
Before that, there's appraisal. And this one's getting waived a lot because they're saying, hey, we're going to cover the gap. Right? But so I want to bring this out. And then there's financing. Because the financing contingency is in the buyer's sole discretion.
Right.
So here's the caveat. You can waive the appraisal and then still have the buyer back out because they decide they don't want to spend the money. Now, hopefully there's some earnest money that went hard at this point for the seller's sake.
Right.
But also, is this opening you up for any lawsuits? Because if you write an offer for a set amount, you've waived the appraisal contingency. So you're saying that you've got money to cover it. You say you're pre-approved. And now all of a sudden, you're saying you were unaware of the financing and you want to back out?
Yeah. It's starting to get... So you might get out of that contract, but you might face additional legal consequence.
It's possible. Contact your legal people.
It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but this comes back to that whole setup of know what you're actually doing prior to writing a REPC or a contract, a real estate purchase contract. Make sure your agent actually is advising you on proper ways to do it and smart ways to do it, not just writing an offer because you said, oh, I like this house. Like, he should be the one that's telling you, or they should be the one that's telling you, hey, I wouldn't waive that contingency, or
this house,
you should do this, or that's lying. You can't do that.
Yeah, make sure your lender knows your financials and you don't overextend yourself. Because, like, you can put offers to buy on multiple properties. If these fall through, or if they all get accepted, what are the implications? You got 10,000 going hard on acceptance, 10,000 going hard on acceptance, 10,000 going hard on acceptance, and you've got this much money.
You could have potential lawsuits of 40, 50, 60, 100 grand that you don't have.
Yeah. Or the best case scenario, they just keep your earnest money, and now you can't buy a house because you said you were going to buy 4 of them.
Yeah, you wanted to buy 4.
And there's a lot of, it starts to get more tricky. And that's where you kind of bring it back down and you read the contract. And you look at, and that's where the earnest money comes in, because that's what you're putting in to say, I'm willing to risk this by removing this contingency of backing out. You know, the due diligence. That's a very common one right now. The due diligence, if you know the neighborhood that you're going to go look in, you should be out there right now looking at it. Do you like the parks? Do you like the area? Do you like the traffic? Don't do that after you put the offer in on the house.
Not in this market.
You're not going to have time to do it because they're hitting the market. And if you don't have your offer in the day that it hits the market, you're done. You don't have time.
Yes.
And so you know where you're wanting to buy. Start doing your due diligence now and then waive that, because a lot of other buyers are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Costs you can pay.
Yeah.
Like, so we're going to write a strong offer over asking price.
Yeah.
We're going to put down some earnest money. We're going to make it go hard at a certain point.
Right.
But what about like section 4.3 and there's transfer fees? Like, offer to pay those.
I don't want to.
That's fine too.
You may not want to, but if you want your offer accepted, you're going to have to.
Yeah. Your buyer, I mean, you as a buyer, you don't want to. I mean, these are all things that if you looked at a house 6 months ago or a year ago, or your best friend just bought a house a year ago and they referred you to them, and now you're helping their best friend or whatever, and they're like, well, he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to do that. Why are you making me pay all this money?
But
it's a different time. And this is what is going on right now. It's completely different than what it was just 6 months ago.
So I'm working with buyers right now that want to buy a property. In the past 4 months, it's gone up $50,000. The last home I talked to them about, if they would have offered $10,000 more, they could have got the the deal.
Right.
They didn't do it. And in a month, 4 months, it went up $50,000. So in 1 month, this price range is probably going to go up another over $10,000.
Yes.
So be aware of that. I have a lot of borrowers or agents I work with, their clients are just saying we're out. Mm-hmm. But be aware of the cost of waiting. So if you have a $400,000 house, and a very conservative number is 10% a year, but it's easy to work with. So 10% a year, it's going to gain $40,000, right?
Right.
That means $3,333 a month. In 3 months, that's $10,000.
Yeah.
Conservatively speaking. So if you wait to buy, what are your costs?
The opportunity cost.
Right.
Buying right
So
now is expensive.
Paying the seller's closing costs, paying their assessment, paying their whatever.
That transfer fee, paying other incentives, like I said, starting to think outside the box and try to look into that, where 6 months ago or 9 months ago, a buyer could ask the seller, hey, we'll make this full price offer and we want you guys to pay our closing costs. And that happened a lot, especially for first time home buyers.
Yeah.
You don't have that. And now you can't ask for any concessions. If you ask for those, it's going to get filtered down to the bottom of the stack.
This actually comes back. Right now, I have an offer I'm doing the deal on. 3% seller paid closing costs. Right now, I'm doing the loan. Know your market.
Yeah.
Use professionals who know the market, because this agent knew the market. She knew how to structure a deal. I saw it. It came through my email, and I was like, and I read it. I got up, went over, talked to the other loan officer. Was like, look at this! Look how cool this is! What? Yep. Anyway, so yeah, we're talking the really hottest market. If you're struggling to get your offer accepted, this is what to do, but don't blow money.
Yeah. So just to kind of wrap up last topic, I think that we've talked a lot about how to strengthen your offer, make it attractive to the sellers, make sure that you're doing what is necessary to make your offer stand out. A couple of cool incentives, and this is why I think it's fun to land on this subject to end it off. Good agents will pay attention to the home that you're going through. In fact, we just went through one, and there was an obvious hunter in this home. And what were some of the incentives that we put into that? You don't have to name them all, but just some of those incentives that really made this offer stand out.
May or may not have included a large gift card to a well-known outdoor store here.
Well, there's an idea. That would stand out and be memorable.
Right? We knew that they needed some more backpacking gear. I believe that there was a certain quantity of custom ammunition that was going to be included in the offer of reloaded for them at their specs for their hunting rifle, and a lifetime pass to a gun range.
Yeah.
Gun training facility.
There's thinking outside the box. And guess what? We didn't get that offer approved.
We didn't.
I mean, it didn't go through. Now, it was fun to do, and we did get compliments on it.
Yeah. Okay. It stood out, and that's really what you want. You want to have the strength, and you want to stand out that when every other offer comes in, they go, oh, is this better than the ammo deal? Or is this, and it kind of stacks up. You want to be the bar that other offers are compared against. That's how you win homes in this market.
And find a good lender who will back earnest money. It's one thing to have a pre-approval letter and have that fall through and have the lender say, sorry, you lost your money. But have a lender that will back your earnest money. Have a lender that's willing to pay some towards the seller paid closing costs. These are good things, and there's lenders out there that will do it.
Yeah, those are your premium ones. And then remember, be honest in what you're trying to do. Have a real intent to purchase that home, because on the other side there is a seller. There's another family that's trying to sell their home. Don't waste their time if you have no intention on purchasing that home, or you're kicking somebody else out that really wants that. Yeah. Be intent and real and genuine with what you're trying to purchase.
There you go. And that is how you get your offer accepted in this crazy seller market right now. All right, guys, what did we learn today?
You have to offer 5 to 10% over that list price and about 2% earnest money at minimum to get your offer even in the running.
Get a good lender. Not one who will just pre-approve you, but one who will call the listing agent and back your earnest money and even maybe give closing costs for the seller.
Be aware of your contingencies And you need to have a competent real estate professional to tell you if it's a good idea to waive a contingency, because you're putting your earnest money at risk.
Have you or a loved one submitted an offer that hasn't been accepted? Countless Utahns are facing the same struggle. Please, watch this video. Like, share, subscribe. Help us, help you get an offer accepted. Also, special consideration should be given to Jimmy Eaton, who helped curate the content of this video. Thank you.
That's no good.
Hey, Eric.
Good.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, we'll find out.
Me too. That's what I thought.
Ah.
Just for clarity, whatever he thought, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Well, okay, hold on.
I don't see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
Whatever, it's still going.
Okay.
I know it is. See, it's still going.
Just keep going with what you know. Just keep going with what you're saying.
Rolling. What did you learn today?
That was what we just did.
Alright guys, what did we learn today?
Well, I can't remember. We were doing so good.
Alright. I haven't done it for a while.